optimistically, we think that in about 7 years, there will be the first demonstrations of quantum computers breaking the cryptography of blockchains. If nothing has been done, it will have been a catastrophe.
Hey everyone, welcome to Blockchain North, Canada's first blockchain media. Today we have the pleasure of speaking with Pierre-Luc Dallaire-Demers, who is the founder and CEO of Pauli Group, a company that aims to protect digital assets from quantum computers through fair and secured decentralized protocols. Super excited to have you, Pierre. Before I begin and I welcome our guest, if you enjoy this kind of interview and you want to support us, which we hope you do, please give this video a like, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss one of our new videos. And make sure to stay till the end of this interview because I will be asking Pierre for some of his predictions. Pierre, welcome.
Thank you, Florent. I'm happy to be here with you on the show.
And we are very happy as well. Let's get right into it. I guess the most natural question to ask is what inspired you to transition from your roles as a quantum physicist to founding a blockchain company? I'm not sure most viewers see the connection immediately between the two.
Yeah, it can seem like a remote topic, blockchains and quantum computing. I've been involved in quantum computing for almost 17 years. And if you want, the common wisdom prior to maybe 2 years ago was that quantum computers would take maybe 50 years before they would be a threat to cryptography. But about 2 years ago, the mindset changed. It was announced that instead of going the target of the industry, instead of going for maybe 100 qubits by the end of the decade, we were aiming closer to 1 million qubits. And I had been involved just as for fun in blockchains since about 2013. And I was looking at the stash of crypto and I was looking at the exponential increase in the number of qubits in the next few years. And I was like, this is going to be a problem for the main reason that all blockchains are each time you sign a transaction on the blockchain, it uses a cryptographic method which can be broken by the quantum computers coming. So since I anticipated the problem, I decided to found Pauli Group with the idea that to help shepherd the post-quantum transition of blockchain and help them prepare for the upcoming changes coming in the cryptographic world, induced from the fact that quantum computers are coming faster than expected.
That's very important, what you said last, that quantum computers are coming faster than you expected. And as I said, I'll be asking you for some predictions towards the end of this interview. I think it may be useful to our viewers, and frankly, including me, if you explain first what a qubit is, and then I'll ask you to explain quantum computing in a language that we can understand. But first of all, a qubit, I assume it's a measure of power, perhaps?
Yeah, so classical computer, the one we're talking to right now, are the information in those computers is processed through bits, so essentially transistors which can be switched on or switched off, and this represents the zeros and ones we can see in movies, any cyber representation of classical computers. For quantum computers, quantum information is more general than classical information. So in some sense, the way we process information classically is only going to be a special case of the more general world of quantum mechanics. And qubits, they are also bits, they can be bits of information, but they're more than that. So a quantum state, if you want, can be in a zero. It can be a quantum bit can be in a zero, it can be in a one, but it can be in a superposition of both in such a way that if you add several qubits together, they can be in a superposition of all possible states together. It allows for computation which are not possible in reasonable time classically. And like physically, what is a qubit? So like classically, it's a transistor like on off. Qubits, they can be made. There are several technologies which can be used to make qubits. So they can be made with either atoms, so like ions, where like the electrons can be in at the rest state, or they can be in a more energetic state, and then the difference between the two is how we encode information. It can be loops of like superconducting circuits, so like the circuits which don't lose energy, and depending on the direction of the current, then we can encode like 2 bits of information. They can be like particles of light, like photons across channel, depending on the which channel they're propagating through. They can be in zeros and ones. There are different ways to encode qubits, and often like it's going to be some state of a microscopic system, which often is at very low temperature because there's less noise, and which can be controlled very accurately. So like some like technologies like transistors, they're very warm, so they don't make very good qubits because they're very noisy and they end up being very classical bits. But technologies at very low temperature, often that's what you see, the representation of the chandelier, like it's like the quantum processor itself is just like a chip at the bottom of it, but most of it is stages of refrigeration just to cool down the chip so that there's as little noise as possible.
Oh. Well, that was quite the explanation. Perhaps what I could ask you to do is to explain quantum computing as if you were talking to a 12-year-old, and to try to explain it in less than 30 seconds. I know that might be challenging, but I think that's maybe what makes the definition interesting. What I know about quantum computing, very briefly, is obviously we're talking about super powerful machines, leaps and bounds more powerful than the ones we use today. And I also know that Canada actually has some advantage. Here in Vancouver, from what I know, there's a company, I think it's called D-Wave, but I might be wrong, as well as, of course, in the US and in Europe. But it is, I guess, a field of research with a lot of promise, and the whole world is probably racing towards it. But how would you explain it to a 12-year-old in 30 seconds?
Well, okay, so it's not intuitive, but like the best maybe way we can imagine it is say, I don't know if you've... quantum mechanics is about waves and particles. So if you want, a classical computer is more just about the particles. So like it's a deterministic balls going around and you can do calculations with that. A quantum computer, it's more like an interference of calculation. And then when the waves all amplify each other, eventually they spike around some answer. And this is how we operate quantum computers. So these waves are waves of probabilities, if you want. So like you maximize the probability, the possibility that some answer will spike out. And this enables some type of calculation to be faster. So a quantum computer is not fundamentally faster. It's a different way of using nature to process calculations. And they're really good at 2 things. First, breaking cryptography. So that's why there's so much research money going into this, because it's a strategic technology. And simulating other quantum systems. So large supercomputers that do material science, molecules, it will be possible to accelerate greatly those types of application and discover, say, new high temperature materials that can conduct electricity without resistance, or new radically more effective drugs for like treating diseases. And this is why there's so much like enthusiasm like in building those technologies. And you're right that Canada is advanced in this field. So like many of the initial, let's say, founders of the field were Canadians. Like the Institute of Quantum Computing in Waterloo is where like many of the community gathered in the early 2000s. And there's also several companies across the country like working on those technologies and who are like pioneers of quantum computers.
And of course, there's Pauli Group, and you're going to be telling us about it in just a second. I guess what our audience will really want to know is, what the threat is to crypto projects. You've already said that they're, quantum computers are particularly good at breaking cryptography. But I guess the most important question is maybe within which timeline do you actually see quantum computing posing a real threat to blockchain technology projects and cryptocurrencies?
Yeah, very good question, Florent. Let's start with the first part. So like all cryptocurrencies, all main cryptocurrencies currently they will be vulnerable. So like each time that there's two layers on blockchain, there's the consensus layer where everyone agrees on what's on the blockchain. This part is safe. The part where you do signatures, so where you identify yourself with a key and you prove with a cryptographic signature that some account or some funds are yours. This is the part which will be broken by quantum computers on the nearest timeline. So someone or some entity with a large quantum computer could just recover the information from a blockchain, sign a transaction, and just like spend anyone's funds on the blockchain, which can be catastrophic for the whole industry. And the timeline right now, like optimistically, we think that in about 7 years, there will be the first demonstrations of quantum computers breaking the cryptography of blockchains. It may not be done directly on the blockchain, just not to cause havoc, but like it will be demonstrated just to tell people that it's time to have that move by then. And maybe like up to 15 if something goes bad. So the analogy I often use is that if it's in 1961, when they said they were going to the moon, like they knew they were going to do it. They knew it was possible, but they didn't know exactly which date. So we're in that kind of situation. We know we're going there, but we don't know exactly like when it starts happening. And when it starts happening, it will go slowly. Like first keys will be expensive to break, and then the price and the rate will accelerate. And then like it will, if nothing has been done, it will have been a catastrophe.
Okay, well, that's a very clear term, a catastrophe. So I imagine that such a complex, subject matter requires a lot of research, a lot of technology, and therefore a lot of collaboration internationally. And right now it's interesting because we're seeing this sort of movement and this open letter on AI with, Elon Musk famously and Steve Wozniak and others, including Yoshua Bengio from Montreal, actually, from Mila, expressing their concerns. So is there the need for such international collaboration and perhaps also some kind of agreements on, what kind of progress is being made, issues like ethics? Could you share a little bit about that?
Yes, so already like the NIST, so the National Institute of Standards in the United States, is evaluating a cryptographic method by consensus, which will be used to upgrade the current blockchains. And for the upgrade itself, it's not a technology problem; it's a consensus problem at this point. So people like the foundations, the developers, they will have to choose the new methods, come up with roadmaps, a set of milestones, implement those changes, do hard forks, and then every user will have to move their funds from the current addresses, which are not quantum resistant, to new addresses, which will be quantum resistant for the next decades before it's a problem. So it's not only about getting the developers on board, like every user at some point has to do it. It's better to do it early now while it's not the problem than when there's panic and then there can be economic consequence on the blockchains if we procrastinate too much and wait to the last minute.
Economic and financial for individuals, of course, like we've seen last year, a lot of people, a lot of personal lives have been shattered, basically. So
yes, and it can only get worse if in 10 years the cryptocurrency market keeps increasing exponentially in size. If it happens in 10 years, it can be tens of trillions of dollars, which can be put at risk by quantum computers on blockchains.
Yeah. So you founded Pauli Group. I'm sure a lot of our audience members don't know the company. So why don't you introduce us to the company and perhaps a little bit more details as to what problem you're specifically trying to solve?
Yeah, so Pauli Group, I founded it in the summer of 2021. The idea is to help shepherd the post-quantum transition of blockchains. So like, keep it that simple. The first step that we did is a set of challenges, problem decentralized on blockchains where we can reach out to quantum computing company and have them solve those problems in the contained environments as a canary, essentially, to show that like the quantum computer is coming and like the signal is like the signal is getting louder. And then we are starting to come up with a decentralized solution where large asset holders can migrate their assets to wallets that are built to be quantum resistant. So we're using the old, well understood methods to secure digital assets. There are some trade-offs in terms of efficiency, but those methods are good for tens of years, if not hundreds, easily. And we're looking to work with more blockchains to help them come up with a roadmap and milestones to upgrade their own infrastructure and help their users move to new methods which are resistant and good for the future.
Okay, and you mentioned a wallet. I know you have an Anchor wallet. I assume that's a flagship product of yours. What sets it apart from, excuse me, from existing blockchain-enabled security solutions? Because there are quite a few, of course.
Yes. All existing blockchain, all existing wallets, if you want, they all use the same quantum vulnerable signatures. That's a problem. Like if you look at a multi-sig wallet, like it's the old methods which are not resistant. If you look at Ledger, even Ledger, it adds security by having the keys on a separate device. But when it signs transaction, those signatures are not quantum resistant. If you look at the web browser wallets, like it's always the same principle. And what we do different is that since it's possible to program some amount of other cryptographic methods on blockchains with smart contract like Ethereum, we simply took the template of a smart contract wallet, so wallets which live on the blockchain, and added a condition that requires you to, when you send an asset, you need to sign the transaction with a quantum resistant key, which is verified by the network, in such a way that even if in the future some quantum computers was to break the blockchain and it was not upgraded, and that's the worst case, you can always prove that you own the digital assets, especially physical assets or like other types of advanced smart contracts. Whereas, say, in 20 years, if it was protected with an elliptic curve, like someone in court could just tell you, oh, it was you generated that with a quantum computer, so like what was the validity? Whereas our method, it would be good for decades. So the point is that we show it's already possible to upgrade now as a mitigation while waiting for the blockchain developers to push the full upgrade to the blockchain.
So it's not just about security, but it's also about identification, as I understand it.
Yes, it plays with what we're seeing in the generative AI world right now. The cryptography and public key cryptography, especially those signatures, they're down the line. It's about identity, so it's proving like who you are in a way which is secure by mathematics, and that's we think that's going to be like the future of identity management also.
So will current solutions to the quantum threat, like Lamport signatures, be able to hold up to this threat, even as quantum computing, of course, evolves and becomes more powerful in the coming, let's say, decade? Or will it constantly be required to, for us to monitor all advancements in quantum and be more reactive with our solutions?
For extremely strong method with Lamport, we're good for decades. But in the world of cryptography in general, it's it's the name of the game. So like we were lucky to have the current method like RSA, which relies on factoring, or elliptic curve for blockchains for several tens of years. But in practice, if you look at the history of cryptography, every few decades, new method or new ways of thinking come along and people have to reinvent cryptography. For this specific case, it's like we're in face of a new situation which we have not faced. So there was not a case previously in history where public keys, like those for signatures, were broken and all infrastructures had to be upgraded. So with respect to quantum computers, it's a new situation. There are methods proposed, and there's never an absolute proof. We must live in that world, but like there's a lot of very smart people who are looking at this problem, and they don't find a way to break it. And say, for example, the elliptic curve. So what we use right now, they had been around for about 15 years when they were adopted. The current methods we're thinking about, they have been around for 25 years, and so far they're robust. And we built in Lamport mostly because it's been around for 70 years, since the 1970s, so 50 years. And it would require, as far as we know, it would require actually physics to be extremely different to be able to break it. So with extremely high confidence, it's going to last for a long time. If it would require new physics to break it this century, otherwise it's gonna take longer. So.
A quick message to our audience, by the way. If you're enjoying this interview and if you're still there, I would say feel free to give us a like and make sure to subscribe to our channel. It really does help us a lot. Pierre-Luc, I feel like asking you a question that I hadn't prepared, but I think people may be wondering, what can I do on my individual level right now to stay secure, whether it be from the quantum threat or from any other cyber or other threat? What is the general advice that you give to people to keep their own crypto tokens, their own digital assets as safe as possible, without, of course, making it layer upon layer of, complicated steps?
Keep your private keys. So don't leave funds on exchanges. Be in control of your keys. That's the main advice I can tell. If you own your keys, you own your crypto. If you move to quantum resistant wallets, it's just going to be secure for even longer. That would be the biggest advice I can say.
Oh, it's nice and simple too. That I'm sure will be welcome, and especially coming from an expert in, let's say, breaking crypto code. So do you think, so obviously, right now government is spending a lot of time and ramping up its regulation of cryptocurrencies, crypto exchanges in Canada, in the US, of course, we've seen a lot lately, and in other parts of the world. Does government need to regulate quantum in a similar way to avoid a threat to crypto, or do they need to regulate it altogether? I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
They are already starting. There's no official regulations now, so it's unclear whether they will regulate the hardware, like the export controls on hardware or on software, but they're already starting to think about it. As the machines get larger, we can expect them to be regulated. Down the line, like the critical resource of quantum computer is helium, which can only be like the same as the balloon, so that's why you don't see much balloons anymore, like they're all going into low temperature experiments. Like controlling the supply of helium is a very strong way to control like who has quantum computers. And for crypto, what we can expect is that since governments are starting to deploy the centralized the CBDCs, so the digital currencies of government, we can expect those to be quantum resistant from the start. So like this, so they may not regulate by forcing the existing blockchains to be quantum resistant. The strategy may be to deploy quantum-resistant centralized digital currencies, which will force blockchains to upgrade anyway.
To remain competitive, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah, oh, that's really interesting. So I mentioned sort of the movement to perhaps regulate or slow down progress on AI. My understanding is that quantum is perhaps an important factor in advancing the potential of AI. Correct me if I'm wrong. Do you see any opportunities for blockchain technology coming of all this AI development as well?
Yes, and it's a point we touched earlier. So for digital identities, we think that blockchains will actually offer a great solution for anyone to prove their identities in a world which will increasingly move toward ever more powerful generative artificial intelligence and deepfakes. So like soon, probably this year, we'll see more and more generated videos. So it's already possible to copy someone's voice just from like a few samples. So like generate images. So how do you identify people in the world where in a few years, what you see on the internet will likely have been generated by AI? What AI is not good at is breaking cryptography. And like faking blockchain transactions. So we expect blockchains will actually surface as the best and most robust solution to ensure to protect the identity of individuals and help them like secure their assets and prove like prove they are like in respect to institutions around the world.
Yeah, very important, of course. It's funny when you talked about deepfake. I thought about the many times I've seen Tom Cruise. I don't know if you've seen these, but you know, he's playing the guitar like Dave Matthews, or he's playing sports incredibly well, and I don't doubt that he has a lot of talent. But one thing I did notice is that most of the time he looks like about 15 years younger than he is today. So maybe that is one telltale sign that, you know, it's not him today right now. Maybe we can finish on a couple of somewhat lighter questions. Let's say, do you have a favorite crypto project, or is there any kind of crypto project that you think is, let's say, you know, maybe more useful or more promising than others that you're following in particular?
Yeah, right now with the team, we follow a lot what's happening on Cardano. So on Cardano with for formal verification, we think it's going to be important for making smart contract more robust and like provably secure. We're also following what's happening with Polygon and the zero knowledge proofs. It's going to be a great way where knowledge can be, where ownership of data is given back to the users. So like with social media, we were used that like everything is free, but we're giving like all the data away. With zero knowledge proofs and making them cheaper, hopefully quantum resistant soon also. It will invert the relationship of who owns the data, and you'll be able to choose who you're giving your data to, which we think like it's going to be like very important for like the privacy and also just the pure dignity itself. So.
And you've already shared some prediction on the development of quantum, but I'd love it if you could share perhaps a few more of, let's say, what you're most confident about looking into, let's say, maybe the next 5 to 10 years. So it's, you know, kind of something that's within reach about blockchain, about crypto projects. Yeah, do you have 2 or 3 that you could just list for us?
Confidently, I think blockchains are here to stay. Like it's there's no regulation that will move them away. Like the principle is sound. They will become increasingly important with respect to what's happening with AI and especially generative AI, to maintain identity, to ensure identity of people. And what we're not confident about is that the current incumbents like Bitcoin will be able to gather the consensus to upgrade to quantum resistant cryptography, and they may be taken over by projects which are quantum resistant from the start. So this is something that we will have to watch for in the markets in the next few years. Hopefully they can, and they stop procrastinating and they start upgrading, but like it still remains to be seen because like it has not started yet, and we're pushing to make it happen as fast as possible.
Well, that last one, I think, will definitely interest our viewers, and we will make sure to share it widely on your behalf. But thanks a lot, Pierre. It was really great chatting with you. You shared so much knowledge in a very short amount of time. Where can people find you, by the way? What is there any link that you would like us to put on screen to any of your you know, projects or research?
Yeah, so the main, like what we encourage people to do is first try out Anchor Wallet, so anchorwallet.ca, read the white paper, and come join us on our Discord if you want to learn more, ask questions, give us comments, and share what you think about what we're building.
Yeah, so that would just be by looking up Pauli Group or looking your name?
Yeah, so if you look for Pauli Group, like the Anchor Wallet links are all there, the Discord is there, all
That's
information.
great. And you'll find some of this on screen and others in the description. Great. Well, again, a huge thank you for your time. Thank you to everyone for watching. If you enjoyed the interview, you know what to do. Give us a like, give us a subscribe to the channel. Feel free to share, by the way, this interview. Our mission at Blockchain North is to inform, to educate, and to inspire people about blockchain and the blockchain revolution. So yeah, we appreciate all the support you can provide. Any questions or comments, of course, feel free to put them below this interview and we'll make sure to get to them. You can, of course, also follow us on Twitter, on LinkedIn, on TikTok, and Instagram. Pierre, thanks again for your time, and everyone, stay safe. See you around.